Okay, so you have a new patient in your hotbox. Your next step is to log on to Kinzer and look up the patient's information, their phone number, and so forth. You won't get your Kinzer login until you actually accept your first patient. So you're going to call your patient. You're going to identify yourself as being with that referring agency rather than saying that you're with Click Clinician. You're going to set your appointment, go see the patient. If you're going to be more than 10 minutes late, we'd like for you to call the patient and let them know. And then if you're unable to reach the patient at all, we'd like to ask you to write a communication note in Kinzer, which is going to just say basically that you attempted to call the patient, you left a voicemail and didn't receive a response. If the same thing happens the next day, we'll need a separate communication note for the next day. So basically we need a trail of documentation for all visits that you tried to schedule and are not successful. In your hotbox, which is where your next week's visits are posted, if you see a new eval there's going to be a sticky note attached to it, a yellow sticky note. So you'll want to always read that before you go out and see your patient. The sticky note is going to give some good information. It might give the diagnosis that you need to use in your eval. It might give the approved number of visits. It might say evaluate and hold for authorization. If you're using an assistant, it'll let you know who your assistant is going to be. Be sure and read that before you go see your patient. Once you do get to your patient's house, there's going to be a folder in the home that was left by the nurse. We'd like for you to put your name and phone number on the folder so they can reach you, and that's where you'll record your vital signs on the log sheet in the folder. So blood pressure, heart rate, respiration, and temperature are all required. Oxygen is optional. We don't need any sort of a signature on our Kinzer. Typical visit time for an eval, it's probably going to take 45 minutes to an hour, and your routine visits are going to take close to 45 minutes. We do have some agencies that require 45-minute visits. 30 minutes would be the absolute minimum, but that really should be an exception. All documentation is due at 8 o'clock the next morning. We do QA the notes and the evals, so you may get a note sent back to your hotbox with a sticky note on it. So be sure and be checking for that. If there's anything that was incomplete or incorrect, it'll be sent back to you by our QA team. Let's talk about COVID screens. So a COVID screen is required for each and every patient every single visit. Our front office will be sending you a K-mail that includes all of the questions that you would need to ask, and those will need to be copied and pasted into the subjective section of every note. The exception to that is Gilead Home Health in Austin. They have a different screening process. Their questions are a little more involved, and they don't put the questions into the actual body of the note. They have a separate template which is located in the communication section of Kinzer, and they would like for you to also take the temperature of any other persons that are present in the room. If you have any questions about that, we're happy to help you. Gloves are required for all visits, and we're also going to be sending you a form where you can document your own temperature on the days that you see one of our patients, as well as the COVID screening questions as they pertain to yourself. And then that's emailed in to the front office at the end of every month.